So things could go from bad to worse with the Stefon Diggs situation, which means the Patriots could find themselves without their wide receiver 1 this season, and honestly, it's sorta kinda their own fault. I mean, the signs were there. He's played for multiple teams that moved on from him for one reason or another, and that's not even to mention he's coming off of a season-ending injury. So I've got to talk about the latest updates with that situation, because it's pretty complex. It could go several different directions. I've also got to talk about a new running back making the Madden cover, a couple pretty surprising players retiring from the NFL, and more right after. Alright, first up, Saquon Barkley has officially been named the cover athlete for Madden 26. This was pretty much a no-brainer move in my opinion, and they went with the play of the year for the cover photo. We all remember the wild backwards leap that Saquon made over a defender against the Jags last year, so this one was very well deserved. Now, the photo that was used isn't from the actual game he played in, but it was recreated in a studio, putting Saquon on wires to make sure they could get the perfect shot for the cover, and what a year it's been for Saquon. He signed with the Eagles in March of last year, going on to rush for over 2,000 yards in the regular season. Then he broke Terrell Davis's record for most rushing yards in a regular season and postseason combined. He then became a Super Bowl champion, and shortly after that, the highest paid running back in NFL history. And now he becomes the first Eagle to grace the cover of Madden since Donovan McNabb 20 years ago in 2006. People, of course, are now worried or concerned that he's going to become the next victim of the Madden curse now, similar to CMC last year when he missed most of the season with multiple injuries after making the cover of Madden 25. There's plenty more examples of this, by the way, but that is the most recent one, and as much as I don't really care for the team over there in Philly, I am definitely hoping that is not Saquon's fate and that he stays as healthy as possible this upcoming season. The more elite athletes out there on the field, the better it is for everyone. Next up, Lions center and former first-round pick from the 2018 NFL Draft, Frank Ragnow, is surprisingly calling it a career after just 7 seasons in the league. It was some pretty unexpected news today, at least for us on the outside, as he's only 29 years old and was coming off of back-to-back seasons making second-team All-Pro. He also made the Pro Bowl in 4 of the last 5 seasons. Ultimately, what this comes down to is his long-term health. He's battled through all kinds of injuries over the course of his career. In 2021, he missed most of the season with a toe injury, then had a groin injury in 2022 and a myriad of injuries in 2023. He played through a lot of those injuries, though, and even last year had a pec injury, a partially torn pec, and played through it, missing only 1 game. He released a statement announcing his retirement, confirming as much, saying, "These past couple of months have been very trying, as I've come to the realization that my football journey is ending and I'm officially retiring from the NFL. I've tried to convince myself that I'm feeling good, but I'm not, and it's time to prioritize my health and my family's future. I have given this team everything I have, and I thought I had more to give, but the reality is I simply don't. I have to listen to my body, and this has been one of the hardest decisions of my life." Well, you always hate to have to see a great player retire because of injuries, but props for him for making the tough decision to do so now, rather than trying to fight through it all longer and, God forbid, do something even worse to his body. Now, as far as how this news impacts the Lions, I'd be surprised if this caught them off guard and they didn't at least know it was a possibility that Ragnow could retire. They took 2 guards in the draft this year, for example, Tate Ratledge in the 2nd round and then Miles Frazier in the 5th. They also brought back tackle Dan Skipper and guard Kyoto Owushika in free agency, but they're both really just depth pieces, so we may see some shuffling around on that O-line, or they can try and add somebody via free agency or even make a trade. At this point in time, I think it's Ratledge that's going to be the guy, their 2nd round pick. He played right guard at Georgia, but has taken nearly all the first-team center reps throughout Lions OTAs and rookie minicamp. On top of that, he had reps as the backup center at Georgia. They also have the 33-year-old veteran Graham Glasgow. He has starting experience at center back when he was with the Broncos. It's safe to say the Lions have some options, even though the loss of Ragnow will be a tough pill to swallow. Another player who retired from the NFL today is 10-year veteran cornerback Ronald Darby. He most recently signed a 1-year deal with the Texans and was shaping up to be their CB3 in the rotation this season, at least so far in how it looked through OTAs. Per Aaron Wilson, who covers the Texans, a source informed him this was totally unexpected, and so far the exact reasons for his retirement are unknown. Darby was a 2nd-round pick by the Buffalo Bills back in 2015 and has since played for the Eagles, helping them win a Super Bowl in 2018, then the Commanders, Broncos, Ravens, Jags, and finally what was supposed to be the Texans, but it seems like he's done playing and the 31-year-old corner's career is now over. Next up, several teams just gained some additional cap space yesterday as a result of post-June 1st cuts becoming official. The Jets gained $13.5 million with the release of Aaron Rodgers and CJ Mosley, and they now have around $37 million in available cap space, which is the 5th most in the NFL. Another team that got some additional wiggle room was the 49ers, who cleared up $5.6 million with the releases of Javon Hargrave and Malik Collins. Interestingly enough, they have by far the most dead money in the league this season at over $90 million, yet they still have the second most available cap space in the NFL at around $50 million. They've had quite the roster overhaul as they attempted to clean up the books a bit and get some aging players under bigger contracts out of there. That allowed them to lock up Brock Purdy, which was priority number one this offseason. Plus, they got extensions done with pillar, cornerstone players, whatever you want to label them, but that's in Fred Warner and George Kittle. And then it appears that wide receiver Stefon Diggs is present in New England for OTAs. I'm sure most of you know this by now, but a viral video surfaced last week of Diggs partying on a boat. I did a full video breaking that down last week, but he was holding an unidentified pink substance and handing it to a few women saying, "Don't take all of it, go have fun and come back and see me." Well, that substance was believed by many to be Tusi or pink cocaine, which is a street drug that obviously is not legal. Mike Vrabel was asked about it last week after the video made the rounds on social media, and he said that the team was aware of it and they need to make great decisions on and off the field, talking about his players. Well then, yesterday, Scott Zolak of NBC Sports Boston said that the Patriots cutting Diggs is not out of the question. He said, quote, "I came to this show with not the opinion, but the knowledge that it is on the table, it's being thought of." He then went on to say that it's not just the boat incident, and there has supposedly been other things he's heard that, quote, "put things into question." Well, that would be a massive offseason L for the Patriots because Diggs was set to be their primary wide receiver this season, even if he was coming off of the ACL injury, and he was also one of their biggest free agency signings that the team made outside of Milton Williams. Sure, they signed Mac Hollins to a 2-year deal. They then drafted Kyle Williams in the 3rd round and have their top 2 targets still on the roster in tight end Hunter Henry and wide receiver Demario Douglas. Those guys didn't even put up 700 yards last year though, and Diggs is the only pass catcher on the roster that's finished a season with over 1,000 receiving yards. Sure, New England is also hoping for a second-year jump from Jalen Polk, a guy that Diggs could be seen out there working with during OTAs today, for what that is worth, but they still need all the help they can get at wide receiver, especially with a young quarterback like Drake May under center. So we will see how true that report from Scott Zolak ends up becoming down the road, but for now, it seems like things are not worst case scenario for Diggs at this point in time because he was seen out there at practice today rocking his new number 8, as you can see in these photos. It was incredibly stupid to do what he did, especially in the presence of all those cameras on that boat last week. Again, unless it was for a Cardi B music video and completely staged, an option I did throw out in last week's video. Time will tell though, and if that's not the case, the whole thing being staged, there may very well be some kind of internal punishment from the team and or investigation from the NFL. I think the Patriots probably wanted do everything they can to not release the guy they just signed to a 3-year, $69 million deal in the offseason, but crazier things have happened, and per Mike Florio, who looked at Diggs' entire contract and all the language in it, the Patriots could have a way out of his entire contract, or most of it at least, if he doesn't pass a physical that clears him to play. The issue with that is Diggs looks pretty good out there running around at OTAs, even if it is just a padless practice. Another interesting part of his contract that Florio found, though, was language in there that promises Diggs, quote, "will not participate and is not engaged and will not engage in any conduct or activity that is illegal, unlawful, or immoral." The thing is, they would have to have proof, and while that video appears to be pretty damning, I don't know if they would also need a positive drug test on top of that, or what actually they would need in order for this to become a reality and get out of his contract. The reality is the Patriots are in a tough spot because they kind of need him and probably want him on the roster this year. Even coming off of an ACL tear at 31 years old, he might be the best option in that receiving room, as I mentioned before, or is at the very least the most proven. So yeah, while seeing Diggs out there at OTAs was probably a good sign in the right direction, Ian Rappaport kind of indicates the same thing here. The Patriots have no plans to release Stefon Diggs. They have high hopes for him, and him showing up to OTAs was a good thing. That's kind of what the signs have indicated. It's at least a step in the right direction, because if it was worst case scenario, you would not even see him out there. But hey, let me know your thoughts on the Stefon Diggs situation and what you think could end up happening here once all the dust settles, and what you think they could actually end up doing. And with that, I'll see y'all next time.